Welcome to BunkaiGaming, this is Matt. So I wanted to talk a bit about Ghost Recon Wildlands and the beta itself that just happened. For those who don't know, Ghost Recon is part of the Tom Clancy world. This one is basically an open world tactical shooter. So it's based in Bolivia in South America, and it's based around the cartels themselves, specifically the Santa Blanca cartel. And the whole idea is you're following the storyline of trying to get through and eliminate the entire cartel. So the game can be played either one or two ways. You can play it solo, where you're given three AI teammates, or you can play it co-op with other people, basically, whether it's your friends or whether it's random people that you match made with. So there's different ways that you can play the game. Of course, there's different difficulty levels, but from the perspective of the game, graphically, it is very, very beautiful. The terrain, the way it's rendered, is incredible. The world itself and how you can just wander around and do what you want to, whatever you do, is really fantastic. And it really reminds me, it has a lot of the elements, I guess, of GTA. And that's what makes it a lot of fun, that you can just wander around and do your own things if you want. Also, the game has a huge amount of weapon customization. If you want to customize your gun to a particular way, you can customize it to however you want. If you want to go for a silent, stealthy build, you can go for that. If you want to go for a guns blazing type build, you can go for that. And that is really flexible about the way you can change the weapons around, what you can add, remove. There's so many options in Wildlands that you can utilize to really customize the weapons the way you want to. But while still being open world, there is limits to where you can go in that particular region. So there is a walled off section that you cannot continue into, which I guess will be allowed to later on once you open up the various different regions around the map itself. But at present, there is a wall based on the beta. Now, how you transitioned into those regions, I'd like to know how that's going to happen, whether go into some kind of loading screen or you switch into the next area and you can't transition between them very easily. So I'd be interested to see how that happens. Though while there is all this beautiful stuff about the game and going out and completing whatever side missions you want to at any point in time, or just following through the storyline, there is a few things that are probably, from my perspective, things that are not so fun about the game. And I guess from my perspective, one of them is definitely the interaction with the NPCs or the people in the world itself. There is very little interaction with them, and it's very janky at times. You can kill some random person while driving along, yet other times you'll run right over the top of people walking on the side of the road and won't do anything to them. And unfortunately, from the mission perspective, the gameplay can become very repetitive very quickly as you replay the missions, which are basically go here, kill these people, or get this intel, or save this hostage, or do this. It is a very repetitive style, and once you've done this about 5 or 6 times, I can see that a lot of people are going to lose interest in the games. There just doesn't seem to be a lot of variety, unfortunately. And even with the actual mechanics of the actual fights themselves, whether you want to go stealthy or whether you want to go guns blazing into a location, there is no real difference between the two different styles. The only thing I could say if you're going gun blazing is maybe reinforcements may come in, but again, they're not overly hard to take on, and there's no differential between which way you actually go in. And I know they tried to leave it open for players to choose which style they wanted to do, but unfortunately it just leads to this, well, I might as well just go guns blazing every time, because what's the benefit of going in stealthy? You can just finish off the same mission probably quicker than going in stealthy and spending 10 minutes doing it, where you can go in guns blazing and do it in 2 minutes. So really, they need to break up some definition, or reward the player somehow for doing it stealthy compared to doing it, say, guns blazing. The other thing is the side missions at this point in time now. I don't know whether this is just a thing with the beta, but side missions, if you fail the side missions, there's no consequence to them. You basically go away, you come back, and then you can recomplete the side mission. You can do this non-stop until you actually complete them. I think they need to put some kind of mechanic in, basically, so that there is a consequence between whether you succeed or fail these missions. And maybe it affects how the actual gameplay interacts with the rebels. Now, the rebels are a faction that basically are trying to help you win the game and trying to defeat the cartel as well. So I think they need to put some more mechanics in to allow a little bit more influence, because the problem is, once you fail a side mission, I mean, it does nothing to the entire game as such. It's just giving you more resources to be able to build up the skill tree. So they need to do something along that lines to make it more critical about you trying to complete these missions. The other thing I'm concerned about is in regards to the skills, or the skill tree itself for the character, and is there enough content to fill it out for the entire game. I mean, at this point in time, I filled out a good portion of it just playing this small section. I mean, it's no point if you fill out this entire skill tree when you're halfway into the game and there's nothing else to do or progress. I mean, there's the storyline itself, but why are you going to continue to collect resources or complete those side missions at that point in time if you don't need that stuff to continue or build up your skills? It just doesn't make much sense. You need to have some kind of progression there to slowly unlock those skills. And I guess it's not there at this point in time. You can do that probably easy in the very early part of the game, and then have no reason to complete anything else except for the story missions later on in the game. So they need to build something on top of that, or make it so that it extends as part of the game as you go along and try to play through the game itself. So one of my other large concerns is definitely in regards to the AI team members. They can be sometimes more of a hindrance than a help. A lot of the times you're having to micromanage them a lot and get them into positions, and they just aren't very smart a lot of the times. You'll be standing taking fire from two enemies, and one of your AI teammates will just be off to the side of them, not even bothering to shoot them or kill them to help you. And this just becomes a problem, especially in missions where you're trying to complete something and you're having to micromanage them all the way through. I wish they were just a little bit smarter and reacted to things a little bit better, because the time spent trying to manage them or move them into position could be better used in missions than trying to make sure that they're in the right position. Now, sure, if you're going for a stealthy type mission and you want to use like the marking or targeting or the syncing, that is a really good way of doing that, because you can use the AI to basically link up and basically then kill targets simultaneously. But it can be very frustrating other times when you're going guns blazing and they're just standing there not doing anything to help you whatsoever. So I think they need to put a little bit more smarts into the AI itself so that they can help you a bit more, and not be so much these dummies just standing around doing absolutely nothing. The other thing that was a bit underwhelming for me was definitely the final boss fight in the level. It was just a matter of going in and killing them. It wasn't anything particularly exciting. It only took me a couple minutes. There's some reinforcements came in, but they weren't overly difficult to take on. I guess I'm hoping that I will see some further mechanics in later boss fights, because at this present time, if that's all there is you go in and kill the boss and get, say, a named weapon for killing them, that's not overly exciting. I hope they're further on in the game that they add some kind of mechanics or some kind of strategy for taking on particular bosses, because if that's all the game's about, then that is going to become very tiresome. You want some kind of mechanic, some kind of strategy that you have to really work out to take on that boss, and that's not a matter of raising up the difficulty and making them more bullet spongy. That's not the way to deal with it. We've seen that happen within the Division. It's not the best way to approach things. You have to have some kind of way of keeping the player engaged, or at least knowing they have to keep it into cover so to avoid lethal damage, say. There's just plenty of mechanics that they could have used to make the boss fights more interesting, and I just don't feel like they've really done that at this point in time. So Wildlands is a very beautiful and visual game, and the open world concept is really great. It's so fun to explore and just do things within the world. But unfortunately, that's where it ends. It's just very underwhelming as a game otherwise. The story's underwhelming, the actual interaction with the people in the world, or the stories and the missions themselves are just not that exciting overall. And I think this is one area that they definitely need to improve if they want this game to be successful. From my perspective at this point in time, unless I see changes in that area, it's not something I'm going to play, because I just feel that I'll get bored of it very, very quickly. So I hope that the developer can take on board these things and make some adjustments and changes to the game. Overall, how much those adjustments can be put in place before the game's released is another question completely. But I'm hoping that they can at least improve on it and make it more fun. Anyway, let me know what you feel if you had an opportunity to play the beta. Are you going to pick up Wildlands? Are you going to at least give it a go? Or do you feel like that it's not a very successful game? Anyway, thank you very much for watching my video, and I will talk to you in the next one. Thank you, bye.